everyone, welcome to rachelpichleryoga. My name is Rachel. Today we're going to be getting into our hips and our hamstrings. So just before we get started, I want to say that if you do have a block or a cushion around you, feel free to grab that. You might want to use it later, as well as a strap or maybe just a towel or anything, or like a long sock, anything that might give your arms a little bit of an extension. So feel free to grab those before we get started. Pause the video if you need to run off. And if you're ready, we are going to start laying on our backs. So have your strap or sock or whatever nice and close to you, laying on your back. We're just going to bring our right knee into the chest, hug that knee in, and I just want you to let that knee kind of move side to side here. Just kind of loosen up that hip joint. If you want to straighten the left leg, you can straighten the left leg. We're just kind of starting to move that right hip around. And then from here, you can start to release that right knee, bring the left knee in, and then same thing, just moving that hip from side to side, maybe straightening the right leg, just kind of loosening up that hip joint. Nice, you guys. So start to let go of that left knee, and then bring those feet back onto your mat. Grab that strap. Unroll it. We're going to place our strap onto the ball of our right foot. So try to put it on the ball of your foot, just underneath your toes. That's just going to help you deepen your hamstring stretch, as opposed to if your strap was maybe on your heel or on the middle of your foot. Try to get it right on the ball. So you're going to start to bring that foot up towards the ceiling, and you're hanging onto your strap. So the strap allows us just to relax the upper body instead of trying to really reach for a leg or a foot. You've got that strap to make your arms nice and long. So from here, you might be feeling that hamstring stretch right off the bat, gently pulling on your strap. If you're not really sure if you've got a bend in your knee and you're feeling it, awesome. If your foot's down here and your leg's straight, if you are feeling a good stretch, you can keep that leg out there. But I kind of like to have my foot stacking above my hip as much as I can, and then bending the knee towards the chest if I need to bend my knee. So find what works for you. Play with it if you're new to this. I want you to feel a really good hamstring stretch, so you should be able to find that. Just move around if you need it. Again, you can straighten that left leg. Oh, there is a good stretch. And then just relax, just breathe. Ideally, your head and your shoulders are just resting on the mat. Gently, gently pulling on your strap. If you need more, and maybe your foot started above your hip, you're just going to encourage those toes closer towards your forehead. All right, taking a few breaths. Nice deep hamstring stretch. So we're just going to bend our knee a lot. You can drop your heel towards your glute, just a halfway break. And then we're going to go right back up. So start to straighten that leg again. Adjust your strap, maybe hang on to it in a different way, or re-grip, whatever. Just slowly starting to open up just a little bit more. Awesome, you guys. Let's take one more breath. And then nice and slowly bend that knee all the way. Get your strap off of your foot. Plant your right foot. Go to the left side so that straps come into the ball of that foot. Again, maybe playing around with where your leg is, how much of a bend you've got in your knee. Finding what works for you, what gives you the best stretch through the back of that leg. And then gently hanging onto your strap, trying to relax the head and the neck. Maybe extending your right leg out long, maybe not. Again, finding what feels best for you. Settling in. Nice, smooth breath here. We're at that halfway mark, so feel free to bend that knee, drop your heel towards your glute, and then come right back up. Just a few more breaths. Feel what you feel. Awesome, you guys. Let's take one more inhale and exhale. Nice and slowly start to bend that knee. Take your strap off of your foot. Move it off to the side. We're going to either roll to the side or come up to seated, however you would like. And then finding your hands and finding your knees. We're going to step our right foot forward into a low lunge. So your back knee's on the mat. I want you to untuck those toes. So just relaxing the top of your foot. Sinking your hips down and forward so your hands can start on the floor. You can just rest your chest on your knee. Look to your big toe. Soften through those hips. If you want to take this a little bit further, you can bring your hands up onto your knee, still dropping the hips. So if you want to just give your hips a little bit of love, you could just place your hands on your hips or just on the knee. Relax those shoulders, feeling that left hip flexor to the top of that quad, maybe the entire quad if you're lucky. And just one more inhale here in the lunge. And then exhale to bring your hands back down to your mat. Send those hips backwards. So releasing out of the hip stretch and moving back into your hamstring. So you're going to straighten that front or that leg in front as much as you can. So if you're dropping your hips all the way down towards your heels, try not to go all the way down. Your hips are stacking above that back knee. So from here, as you straighten your front leg, maybe you don't have to worry about what your foot is doing and you automatically feel a stretch in the hamstring, but maybe you don't and you actually need to flex your foot and you need to pull those toes back towards your forehead to feel that stretch in the back of your leg. So play with it, relax the foot, flex the foot, wherever you want to go. And then you can start to drop your chest down towards your thigh. Maybe your chin can find your shin. If anybody's a little bit wobbly and you've got a block or a cushion and you just want to place that under your hands to keep the chest proud and just help you balance, you can do that as well. Just feeling the breath, feel the stretch. And with your next inhale, you're going to start to bend back into that front knee. So move your block to the top of your mat. Bend your front knee, heel toe that foot over to the right side of your mat. So all the way over so that your hands can actually come under your shoulders and they're on the inside of that front foot. So I like to turn my toes to point kind of out a little bit instead of pointing them straight forward. My knee likes that a lot better. So find what works for you for that foot, straight forward or out to the side a little bit, and your knees just kind of falling out to the side. So we're still dropping the hips down towards the mat. We're feeling this all through our hips, even that glute and that quad. Lizard pose. So you can stay up on your hands. You could place your cushion or your block under your forearms and then come halfway down. Or you could skip the block and find your forearms on your mat. You could even use your block to rest your forehead. Just softening through those hips. Awesome, you guys. So if you're on your forearms or if you're using your cushion, start to make our way back up onto our hands. You're going to start to heel toe your foot back to the middle of your mat. all the way over to the left side. We're coming down into pigeon. So you're going to bring that right hip down, the right knee, the shin, everything's coming down onto the mat. And you're trying to square those hips to the front of the room. So if you notice that your right hip is really high up, you could stick your cushion or your block underneath that hip, and just, then you don't have to hold yourself up on your own. Let those props help you make this a little bit more comfortable. So from here, if you need to bend the back knee, you can bend the back knee out to the side a little bit if that's going to help take some pressure out of the hips. Pigeon pose. If you want to add that forward fold, you can drop your head, your chest down towards the mat. So just a few breaths here, feeling those hips, the glutes, the quads, relaxing the shoulders, just resting your head somewhere if you can. And then nice and slowly, we're going to start to make our way back up onto our hands. You can tuck your back toes, send that knee or that front leg back into your tabletop, but then slide your knees out wide. We're going to take child's pose. You could also come into downward facing dog if you'd rather go there instead of child's pose. Just going to take a moment before we go onto that left leg. So when you're feeling good, start to make your way back up onto your hands and your knees. Bring those knees back together and stepping that left foot up in front. So nice low lunge to start. Untuck those back toes, sink those hips down and forward. Keep your hands on the mat if you'd like, just resting your chest maybe on your knee. Or you could bring your hands up to your knee or to your hips, whatever feels best. Just breathe. Feel a stretch. Feel that hip flexor. So just taking one more inhale. And then exhale to come out of that lunge and start to send those hips backwards just enough to straighten the front leg as best you can. And then maybe pulling those toes towards the forehead, maybe not. Maybe grab your cushion or your blocks to help you balance. Dropping the chest as much as feels good. Maybe not dropping the chest at all. But finding that hamstring stretch. So using your next inhale, we're going to come back into that lunge so you can bend into your front knee again. Start to heel toe your foot over to the left side of your mat. Hands are coming to the inside of that foot. So you're still dropping the hips down towards the mat here. Sometimes I like to push back to escape the stretch, but you just want to encourage them down towards your mat. Let that knee kind of fall out to the side. Remember, adjust if your toes are pointing out to the corner a little bit or if they're right forward. And then maybe coming a little bit deeper into your lizard, using your cushion under your forearms or just your mat, or just stay up on your hands. Feel those hips. Awesome, you guys. So let's start to come back out of that lizard. Find your hands, start to heel toe that foot back to the middle of your mat and then all the way over to the right side. So dropping that left hip down and finding your pigeon. So if you've got tight hips and you weren't really sure about the last side we did, you're going to want that heel pretty much touching your right hip. Squaring those hips to the front of the room. Again, if your left hip is really far off the floor, stick your block or your pillow underneath or anything that you have for a cushion, and then maybe folding forward. Another thing that you could do is also bend that back knee up and then fold forward, or you don't even have to fold forward. If you have nice open hips though, and you've got that leg straight behind you, and maybe your heel touching your hip isn't enough for you, you're going to start to work on bringing your shin parallel to the top of your mat. So still keeping those hips square, and then dropping it down if that feels good for you. So if you're able to relax your head on something, if you are folding forward, you can do that. And just taking a few slow breaths. Awesome work, you guys. So feel free to start to make your way back up. Push into your hands, tuck the back toes, option to go into downward facing dog or child's pose, or maybe just tabletop and wiggle those hips side to side. Just removing around in any way that feels good, and then finding a comfortable seated position. So just sitting cross-legged or maybe on your knees, resting your hands on your lap or on your legs, and just closing the eyes. With each inhale you take, grow a little bit taller through your spine. Sit nice and tall. And as you exhale, just relax, release, let go. And just scanning your body here. Notice how good those hips are feeling right now. And let's take one more inhale together. And exhale out your mouth. Awesome work today, you guys. I hope that you're feeling really good right now. Until next time, have an awesome day. Namaste.